Snap, snap.
Yes.
Okay, so what? Well, you haven't changed your...
No, keeping you in suspense.
Yeah, we're rattling through them, aren't we?
Yeah,
today?
we always do. Yeah,
we're
very efficient.
We are efficient.
Efficient.
Professionals.
I'm sure it rhymes with that, what people think.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well. Anyway, this looks quite spectacular in its own little way.
Yes.
What a sort of sexy interface.
Ah.
What are we looking at today, Sean?
Well, today, Dan, Plug-in Alliance have just dropped this.
Oh, this was the one you were on about.
Week. Just as we've decided what we're doing, all of a sudden another plugin turns up, so we think we better get it and test it. This is the Plug-in Alliance Brainworx Hum Audio Laal.
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 Yeah, it sounds like an Indian dish.
It stands for Look Ahead Analog Limiter. Laal.
Okay. All right. Well, let's find out. Is it? So, the Lamphal.
The Lamdal. The Laal. Yes.
The Laal.
Yeah, let's get into
Tell
it.
us about it.
Well, me and you demoed one of these.
Oh, what's it?
Gearfest last
Gearfest,
year. Yeah, we met the guy that made it and we had a play with it, and yeah, impressive bit of hardware. It's kind of unique. I mean, there's not loads of analog limiters around, and there's certainly very few that I know of that have a look ahead function. See, in the analog domain, that's quite a weird thing.
Yeah, how does that work?
I don't know. I just review the things.
Okay.
I don't build.
All right. Yeah.
I don't know how it works, but it works. It's a limiter, and you use it, at the end of your mastering chain.
I know it does. It has a circuit prior to the limiting circuit, so it detects before it limits. It detects the peaks coming in.
That would make sense. It's not exactly genius, but yeah.
Well, you didn't know.
Better point.
Jesus.
Yeah, 1-0 today.
I'm probably wrong.
Yeah, you could be. I'm sure someone's going to tell us in the comments.
Yeah, I'm sure they will. Yeah.
They normally do. Right.
Anyway,
yeah, so most, I would say not most, but a lot of people now have moved to doing their limiting digitally in the box. Just there's so many tools we've got these days that do such a good job. Quite often the metering's better, the control is better. We have the function of look ahead, digitally, all of that stuff. So when this came out, it was like, hang on, we can now do that in the analog domain. And here we are. So let's have a look. It's modelled on the hardware very closely. There's a few extra things it does, such as it works in mid-side mode. That's pretty special.
you love a bit mid-side, don't you?
It's just so useful. You also have control over the amount of drive into the transformers, which is, again, an interesting thing. This being analog has a sound. It's not completely clean. A lot of limiters are trying to do their job as cleanly as possible without getting in the way. This isn't really like that. This is absolutely giving you a sound. So anyway, let's go through it. Both sides are the same. One is left, one is right, or one is mid, one is side. So starting at the top left, we've got our input control. The analog hardware is stepped in 2 dB increments, and this is done the same way. And then below it, you have basically a trim, like a fine control for doing the bits in between that. It's a bit weird to do that on a plugin, but it's trying to stick with the exact same interface as the hardware. The output's the same, so you've got your 2 dB increments on the output, and then you've got a fine control underneath. You then have your release time for the limiting, which goes from pretty damn fast to, relatively slow. And obviously when you're limiting on a master, you need to experiment. Depends on the rhythm and the tempo as to where that's going to be set. We've then got some pretty impressive metering, very similar to the hardware, although there is slightly extra metering and I would say slightly more accurate. We've got peak hold control if you want it. You can switch on the dynamic transient, and you can switch on the transformer. Without those, it's a lot cleaner. You put those on, we start getting some of the analog saturation. There's not loads, but you can drive it up with these controls, the TX drive down there. You can have your detection link on, so that left and right, the detection one affects the other. You got your power, you got your bypass. There's a stereo width button and a selector at the top there, so you can set that between 1 and 6. It's really subtle and really nice. Absolutely love that.
It's not blurry and
it doesn't do any of that stuff. You can have it on full and it's not going to ruin stereo imaging. It's really nice. It's all the same controls on the right. There's nothing else there. Really useful controls down here, bottom left. So you got your emphasis filter. The more you push that, the more this is going to kick into action. So you start off with it to the left and bring it up till it's doing what you want it to do. You've got your detect link amount. So when you've linked the detection circuits for left and right or mid and side, that's how much they're linked, which is useful again. You've got an ambience button. So when you click that, you only hear what it's
Calls
doing.
an ambulance.
Calls an ambulance. Ambience. Channel link control, useful when you're in stereo mode. Mid-side mode, then you don't want it channel linked. Mid-side mode on this is game-changing, I think. To be able to set so that, you know, a lot of the stuff you want the heaviest kind of limiting on is the stuff bang in the middle. It's the kick, it's the snare, possibly the vocal, but, you know, definitely the kick, snare and the bass. And maybe you let the stuff that's on the sides, let it free a bit more. Do you know what I mean?
So without saying directly, you've insinuated that this is essentially a mastering limiter.
Very much a mastering limiter, yeah.
Is it?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you could use it anywhere, and I think that's the beauty of it. So the interesting thing, I think, is that the hardware of this is about $9,000 to buy.
Okay.
This plugin, let's do that. So first of all, let's do the demo. It's 14 days because it's Plugin Alliance.
Okay.
The full price, $129.
Well, that's not bad for full price for Plugin Alliance.
No, that's not bad.
No.
Surprisingly low.
And
I
it
think,
will
for them.
become at some point.
Well, at the moment, in the initial sale, it's $49.99.
Would you go and get that?
I'm seriously thinking about it. I can't decide whether it's going to go down to $29.99 at some point or whether they're going to stick it up.
Yeah, stick it up.
I don't know.
They don't like it up.
They don't like it up. Well, I would say the interesting thing is...
So what have you got in what contends with this in your sort of in-the-box plug-in chain?
I've got so many limiters.
I know,
use different ones for different jobs.
Why would you go and spend
another
chunk
of money on another one? That's a good question. So I discovered years ago when I was first mastering that using more than one limiter is the key a lot of the time.
Yeah.
So I quite often drive one limiter into another. So both of them are working less hard. And I mix and match depending on the style of music. So
having another
that is
shade in your palette.
Most of the others I've got are very transparent. They're just limiting, and I would say this is kind of interesting because it's very transparent on the limiting front. It's hard to hear that it's doing the limiting, but it's adding something else. It's adding an analog warmth that most limiters don't.
Oh.
So it's interesting from that point of view. It's like the bit that it's doing the main job of, the limiting, you can't hear very much, even when it's really...
But it gives it some kind of substance.
Gives it a heft,
Does it? A bit of weight.
Now, what I don't have is the hardware to test this against. However, Paul Ashmore over at Audio Animals does, and he put up a video, I think yesterday or the day before, where he's A-Bing between the two. And he was pretty impressed. So go and have a look at that and have a listen, because it's interesting. I think I downloaded those files and had a listen to them. There is a difference between the hardware and this, but it's tiny.
Yeah.
It's tiny. And I think loads of people picked up and were commenting and saying, yeah, it's just the low end. It's just not quite as there. You can put the low end back in again.
Yeah, true.
For something that's $49.99 against $9,000.
Yeah.
That's a no-brainer. If you master in the box, you're mad to not have it in your arsenal, really. I know where your brain went there.
You're mad not to have it in the arsenal. I do disagree, but
so hard working with 12-year-olds.
Whatever tickles you fancy, sure.
Oh god, yeah.
So the PSP.
No, the PIA, the Plugin Alliance, Brainworx, Hum Audio, Laal. Yeah. Yes.
Is it shit?
No, I don't think it's shit at all.
You're going to get it, aren't you?
Yeah, it's on my top of my list. Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Okay. Well, it needs to go into the plugin top 5.
It might. We'll see. That has to be actually in my workflow for it to be in the top 5.
Well,
it could.
Sounds to me like this is headed that way.
Well, I've got the 14-day demo. I'm 2 days in, so I will keep using it and I'll see what happens.
Okay.
But right now, it's interesting. Yeah.
Good stuff. All right. Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen, or gentlemen and gentlemen. Please don't forget to like the video.
That'd be nice if you could do that. You could also subscribe to the channel or maybe become a channel member.
We've got an Instagram, Studio Life 101.
That we have. There's our plugin top 5. There's links to courses and mastering and mixing and all that kind of stuff. And it's all down there somewhere.
So until next time, sayonara, suckers.
Adios.